Solar with the CBC Evening News. In our top story, the official figures are in and Barbados' economy grew by 0.5% last year. This was revealed by Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell today as the bank issued the review of the Barbados economy for 2015. Dr. Worrell says the growth was thanks mainly to a stellar performance in the tourism sector, which was the only sector to record measurable growth.
There was a 13% increase in airlift from major source markets, an expansion in room stock, and refurbishment of aging hotel plant. The tourism outturn was the best on record since 2007, with activity in the sector rebounding to pre-crisis levels. Tourism receipts grew by an estimated 5%, with arrivals up by 14%, and all major markets recorded double-digit increases.
Dr. Worrell also gave an update on the deficit situation.
The 2015-16 fiscal deficit target of 4% of GDP is within reach, provided that government completes the planned divestment of the Barbados National Terminal Company Limited. Accrued revenue for the fiscal year is projected at $2,584 million and expenditure at $2,950 million for a deficit of $366 million.
Tate Road, Britain's Hill, St. Michael was the scene of this island's latest shooting. According to police, the incident, which occurred around 10:35 this morning, left 30-year-old Mario Hurdle of the same address nursing gunshot wounds. Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Assistant Superintendent David Welch, says Hurdle was reportedly at home when he was attacked by several unknown assailants. He was shot twice. He was subsequently taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by private vehicle, where he remains a patient in stable condition. One Britain's Hill resident who chose not to go on camera gave her account of what happened.
I was inside and then I heard this gunshot, and when I looked out, the fella that got shot came over to his gallery and asked me to call the ambulance for him and tell me he was shot, and that was about it.
Barbados' top cop is concerned that illegal guns are coming into the country at an alarming rate and is calling for a plan of action to arrest the situation. He made that appeal during an inaugural symposium on crime dubbed Fighting Crime 2016 and Beyond, and it was hosted in collaboration with Crime Stoppers Barbados and the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association at the Regional Police Training Center. Shane Seeley has the details.
To stem the tide of illegal guns flowing into Barbados, Acting Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith is calling for an urgent systematic review of security systems at all ports of entry. This as he reveals that lawmen seized about 100 firearms in the last 2 years, confiscating almost double the number of guns last year compared to 2014. The acting commissioner says the force is willing to work with other law enforcement agencies at the ports to close those loopholes being exploited by criminals.
We have been doing our utmost to rein in these illegal firearms. In fact, in 2015, we seized some 65 firearms as opposed to 35 in 2014. But as we seize these firearms, we observe that they are pouring in to the country at an extremely high rate.
Despite the gun situation, Acting Commissioner Griffith says lawmen have been able to keep the crime situation under control and maintain Barbados' reputation as a safe tourist destination.
Our record of achievement includes our ability over the past 2 years to maintain crime levels at their lowest within the past 15 years. It must be noted that though there was an increase in crime last year, this comes against a performance where there was a record of 14% decrease in crime the previous year. Indeed, to put it another way, in effect in 2015, we recorded a 6.3% decrease in crime over the recorded rates in 2013.
The acting commissioner is now hoping that this inaugural symposium will help come up with some new solutions to the illegal gun situation and other crime-related matters. Shane Seeley, CBC News.
Meantime, Crime Stoppers Barbados is urging police to help protect the integrity of the Crime Stoppers program. Chairman Julie Dash told senior officers it's critical that they quickly investigate tips coming in from that agency.
Say a man in the Pine calls and says next door they've got an AK-47, they're dealing drugs, and it's a massive problem. That man then sees you guys come round, arrest him and take him away. He feels sure that that's his tip. He then calls back the call centre in 30 days and says, I'd like to know what happened. And the call centre says, sorry, but we have no further information on this. That threatens the integrity of our programme. So I have to emphasise how important it is to A, act on the information, and B, back up with the files getting back to where they're supposed to be so that we can give feedback to the tipsters.
The Ministry of Education intends to stay tied into what's happening in the nation's schools. It's for this reason that Minister Ronald Jones will be meeting with principals of both primary and secondary schools. Several topics are up for discussion with the secondary school principals, including the CSEC examinations. As it relates to the primary schools, Mr. Jones sees engagement with these school leaders as important.
If the secondary schools are fed from the primary schools, and they are fed from the primary schools, there have to be some strengthening at critical areas in the primary school as well, because they're not disconnected. So that would be engaging my attention with those primary principals as well. We also brought them in last year and we spoke to them and went through a whole lot of stuff.
While speaking on the sidelines of the launch of Leaders Week at the Aline School, Mr. Jones provided an update on planned nursery schools for the island.
Gore Hill number 2 will be the first to be completed. I should be visiting that shortly. The one at Old Burgess, that is commenced, and then the other 2 will follow in sequence after that. There are 2 others to be constructed, and I'm examining. One was to be in the north, St. James, northern St. James, and one was to be in Christchurch. But we're re-evaluating the numbers, particularly for the one in Christchurch near Sirs Court, because we just don't want to put down a plant that's not going to be well served.
Well, despite recent warnings from health and environmental officials, Barbadians are continuing to dump illegally in St. Stephen's Hill in St. Michael. Residents in the St. Stephen's Hill area are growing tired of the tons of garbage being dumped in their neighborhood. The pools of molasses have created an abundance of mosquitoes and an unbearable stench, making it even more difficult to reside there. Resident Leroy Robinson says the dumpers are not just ignoring the authorities, but they are dumping all times of the day.
Well, yeah, they stop dumping. They stop dumping, dump every day, every night, and they don't mean no particular time. People that got a job that's going at 7 and come off at 4. This is a all around the clock thing, even Christmas Day.
Clement Broom, another resident, says since 2010 he had written to the respective ministries about the dumping, but it is only because of the molasses that the area has received attention.
The letter that was written stated exactly what was going on around here. The noise, the dust, before the molasses ever came. This is only, as Mr. Robinson says, that break the camel's back. But the noise, the trucks noise, you're getting the loading of all different aggregates, sand, dust, mold, and it's being packed in the back.
Former BLP Cabinet Minister Ramel Marshall says he plans to schedule a meeting with the relevant authorities to try and address the matter.
I am prepared to speak to the minister myself. There's a guy called Cammy Holder who is very active, activist, and he's concentrating on the dumping in Barbados. I am going to ask to meet with him and speak to the minister to see what we can do, not only in the Robinson Close and this St. Stephen area, but Barbados on the whole.
The residents of St. Stephen's Hill are calling on the authorities to strictly enforce the law on those contravening the health regulations. And we'll have more news right after the break. Stay with us.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, my darling.
Thanks, Mr. Banks, man. Thanks, man.
Cheers, mate.
One more. Right.
Thanks, man.
Each and every day, we're thankful for something. And we're thankful for you. We couldn't do it without you.
At the dawn of each day, he comes with just one purpose: to fill your morning with excitement. Get an edge to your day. Kurt Rowland, Edge. Morning Show.
Chief Executive Officer of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Dr. Dexter James, has lauded the work of the Broadway to Barbados Charitable Trust, which assists the cash-strapped institution. He made the comments at the QEH this morning, noting that the relationship with the trust is an important one as the hospital searches to improve patient care at every level.
To date, they've raised about $1.6 million, and our medical intensive care unit has been the beneficiary of close to $800,000 of those funds. There's still commitments in hand, about 270 plus. As and when needs arises, they would then provide the funds to the hospital.
Dr. James says a major initiative on the cards is to expand the Accident and Emergency Department, which is currently challenged by space and ergonomic issues.
One major project that is planned for this year is the expansion of A&E into the basement of the hospital, and we will move those administrative units into the basement, thereby freeing up space to allow for patient care areas. Dr. Williams will speak more to that project, but this year we really want to spend some time on looking at A&E a little bit closer, both in terms of our back office operations. I think we could do a lot more in getting our results much faster.
And one of the trustees of the Broadway to Barbados Charitable Trust, Robert Burke, says Neil Burgess' show will be returning this year to perform at the Frank Collimer Hall on February 25th, 26th and 27th, and on March 3rd, 4th and 5th.
And I think the show has proven very popular. We're very pleased to date, and we hope that all of you have been able to see the show at one time or another and have enjoyed it. And each year we try to do something a little different and bring in a few new performers and so on.
Mr. Bork says the trust, which was set up 4 years ago to assist the QEH, has delivered on its promises and commitments to help significantly with the operations of the premier healthcare institution on the island.
We have equipped the newly operating MIC with 11 beds and accessories, bedside monitors, a defibrillator, an ECG, transport monitors, a portable bronchoscope, a ventilator and accessories, and other smaller equipment needed. With funds raised in 2016, we expect to surpass $1 million of commitments to the QEH. Our commitments to date to the Queen Elizabeth exceed $800,000.
Mr. Bork says they have received a commitment from Albert Friedberg to help purchase a central monitoring system for the Accident and Emergency Department that's estimated to cost almost $250,000. Well, the new training academy for fire officers at Arch Hall will be open in a few weeks' time. Acting Chief Fire Officer Errol Maynard says the facility will be available to fire services throughout the region, as well as businesses and institutions.
It is our unwavering commitment to training and development that affords us the confidence to willingly respond to the call for help. And we are also ready and willing to respond through our academy to any training requests from local, regional, and international institutions and or individuals.
The acting chief was speaking during an award ceremony for several fire officers who went to Dominica to assist with rescue and recovery efforts following the passage of Tropical Storm Erica. Dominica's Chief Fire Officer Josiah Dupuis was on hand for the awards and was full of praise for the Barbadian fire officers who he says went above and beyond the call of duty. He says he was sorry that their efforts did not receive more recognition in the media, as they were deserving of much more.
In Dominica, we appreciated and felt the presence of the officers from Barbados. Just by virtue of their presence, that gave us hope. So when you speak of resilience, we drew from you, and therefore that manifested some of the things that you spoke about. The fact that as soon as you got to Dominica, you essentially hit the ground running and went into the impact zone, at least the most critical area where we had tremendous loss of life and essentially the wiping out of a community, a vibrant community at that. That itself gave individuals reasons to believe that we would overcome.
Barbados Scholar Chloe Harvey-Reid has received yet another award for her academic excellence. The Ministry of Education has presented Ms. Harvey-Reid with the Tom Adams Scholarship, making her the first to be honored with this award in 10 years. Minister of Education Ronald Jones made the presentation to her parents and highlighted the scholarship's importance.
In 1984, the Cabinet of Barbados took a decision to award a $10,000 award called the Tom Adams Scholarship for those persons who excel in the area of humanities. You know that the national scholarships tend to lean heavily towards science, technology, and things of that ilk. And way back when, we thought that it was necessary to give some impetus to those persons who were involved in the humanities.
Ms. Harvey-Reid, a former student of Harrison College, now attends Bristol University, where she studies European law. Her father, Charles Harvey-Reid, spoke on her behalf.
I think the words that Chloe would like to share here today is a gracious thanks to the government of Barbados for making this award to her. It's very relevant. It's been 10 years. We're on the crest of celebrating 50 years of independence. And I know Chloe would like to send a very special thank you to her teachers, who she's developed, I would predict, a lifelong bond with. They've been very instrumental. She's also would like to pass on a sincere thanks to her mother, who has been also very instrumental. I played a supporting role, but definitely has been her mother's driving effort.
And still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across our region. And remember, you can also follow us on Twitter at CBC_Newsroom and on our Facebook page, CBC News Barbados.